Hello, friends. We are going to talk what is the weather like in Tennessee? Tennessee gets a variety of weather. We get everything from glorious weather that is fantastic to weather that is like, why is Mother Nature so mad at us? One of the things that people always mention when they leave Tennessee and they come back, the thing that they miss is the variety and the changing of seasons. Tennessee gets four distinct seasons. Number one, what is the weather like in winter? So, winter usually happens in December, January, and February. And in December, it typically gets cold enough to snow around Christmas, around New Year's. I have seen it though, where I've worn shorts at Christmas before. So again, Tennessee gets a variety of weather and all sorts of things. So, what is the winter like in Tennessee? We typically have very brief cold stints sandwiched in between warmer weather. Tennessee is kind of in that area where it can go a variety of directions. I would hate to be a weather person in Tennessee because it truly is hard to predict what's going to happen. As a matter of fact, we're kind of in that zone where the weather's going to hover around 36, 37, 39 degrees during the day. And then as the sun goes down, the temperature starts to change. And depending on when the moisture hits, will determine what we get. I have seen some towns in Tennessee, 15 miles apart. The one town has snow, ice, sleet, rain, all the stuff that you would associate with winter weather, whereas the other town got nothing. So the timing of these things can be very crucial. One of the things, our neighbors to the north, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, typically they're going to get snow. Our neighbors to the south, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, are going to get rain. In Tennessee, we don't know. So here is the typical snow that happens in Tennessee. It will be, again, 36, 37 degrees during the day. As the sun goes down, it will start to switch over. I have seen us get all four things all at the same time. It'll start out as rain, it will turn over to sleet, it may get a little bit of freezing rain or ice in there, and then it will turn over to snow. All in the same rain, all in the same system event. I have seen towns in Tennessee where the elevation changes. Example, Cumberland Plateau, they'll get snow. The towns 700 feet below will get nothing or get rain only. So, what does the typical snow look like? Well, it's disruptive, of course. We have lots of hills and valleys. Like most snow and ice events, it gets a little messy. But the good thing is, it never sticks around. Typically, by the next afternoon, or at least by the second day in the afternoon, the sun has popped back out. It gets back up to 38, 39 degrees. And the main roads are great. Tennesseans are afraid of inclement weather. So the stores will sell out of milk, bread, eggs, all the things that you think of. They can buy them 2 days later, but they get scared. They kind of hover in their houses. They don't come out for a few days. You'll see people post on Facebook, hey, how are the roads? That is a very common thing in Tennessee. And it is one of those things that drives me a little crazy because people act like it's not going to melt at some point. It typically melts next day or 2 days later. Now, moving into the spring, typically end of February, we'll start to get some warm weather. March can be warm, and typically spring is awesome. We have things blooming, things come to life. It is absolutely gorgeous in Tennessee in the spring. Now, we do get cold weather in the spring. The biggest snow I ever saw was in spring break of '93. A lot of Tennesseans remember that one. It was very memorable because of how much snow we got in various parts of the state, especially the eastern corridor of the state. Spring is fantastic though. Now, spring can be rainy. This past spring, we in particular, we had a lot of rain, we had a lot of flooding in various parts of the state. It seemed to be a very common theme. And so we can get rain, we can get flash floods, we can get thunderstorms, we can get tornadoes. So typically in any given year, we get about 30 tornadoes. Now, the tornadoes we get are typically not long track tornadoes where they've built up a ton of energy, like our friends in Oklahoma and Kansas and Iowa and Illinois, where it's flat and they tend to build up really an immense amount of energy and become EF4 or 5 tornadoes. Typically in our state, because of the terrain and because of the hills and the valleys, the tornadoes are a little more unpredictable in nature. So they tend to form, knock out a neighborhood, and then break up and then reform a couple miles later. Tennessee, on average, gets around 30 tornadoes a year. So people in Tennessee definitely have some fear of tornadoes and thunderstorms and that type of weather, and for good reason. It typically is very disruptive. Now, again, the good news is the tornadoes we get, for the most part, are EF1 or 2. They don't do as much damage as what you're going to find in those other states. So spring, glorious time. Now, spring is also great because it's not typically that hot yet. When we get to summer, man, it gets hot in Tennessee. So what you're going to find in summer, in June, July, and August, and in those months, is you're really going to have a lot of heat. It's not unusual for us to be 90 degrees during summer. We don't typically hit triple digits like our neighbors to the south in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, but we do get extremely hot. And so what you'll find is a lot of people do their activities in the early morning or in the late evening. Typically, if I want to mow my grass, I'll do it around 6:30 in the evening just because it is a lot cooler. Water sports are big in Tennessee. So you have a lot of recreational activities that happen around lakes, rivers, streams. So fishing is big, boating is big, jet skiing, kayaking, canoeing. And as a matter of fact, my daughter and I, we went kayaking last year, and it was fantastic. We were the only ones on the water. It was great and refreshing to get in the water as it was a summer day and the sun was beating down on us. So what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of activity in the early morning, in the afternoon. Summer's great for the people that love summer, but we have a lot of recreational bodies of water. We've got Reelfoot Lake, we've got Center Hill Lake, we got Dale Hollow, and we got tons of places that you can go to boat, fish, and really recreate around water. Tennessee has a documented 500 plus waterfalls. Some estimates I've seen as high as 800. So we have lots of waterfalls. A lot of people do hiking and then they'll cool off, dip down in the water body of water at the waterfall where it pools. Fall Creek Falls, for example, very popular place in the summertime. Now, moving on, fall is the absolute best season. And so typically September, it's still pretty hot, but when we get to October and November, it is like perfect weather in my estimation. So the average temperature in October in Tennessee is 71 degrees with a low of around 49. And so the fall is glorious. We have all the changing of the leaves, all the changing of the colors. Typically it's dry in the fall. We don't get a lot of bad weather. We get a lot of festivals, and so whether it's a fall festival or a harvest fest or a corn maze or a pumpkin patch, we get it all in Tennessee. And so the fall is absolutely perfect weather in Tennessee. It's great, especially as we get to October and November where the weather starts to cool off just a little bit. This October, the early part, we were still touching the 80s, mid 80s, even 90. And so getting down to more normal temperatures last couple of weeks, fall is perfect. So again, in Tennessee, we're going to have all 4 seasons. We're going to have inclement weather. We're going to have snow, ice. We're going to have a little bit of that. We're going to have some thunderstorms. We're going to have some tornadoes. We're going to have some things that you're going to have to deal with if you come to the state. But overall, the weather in Tennessee is great, and people love the variety and the different activities you can take advantage of with all the 4 seasons. Guys, thanks for watching. Again, faith first, family always, Tennessee, of course.